The Watcher in the Walls. Rachel had never been a believer in ghosts. When she moved into the old Victorian house on the outskirts of town, all she saw was potential. A place to escape the noise of the city, renovate and make her own. The house was old but charming, with creaking wooden floors, tall windows, and intricate mouldings that spoke of forgotten times. The first few nights were peaceful, though she noticed something odd. At night, as she lay in bed, she would hear faint, rhythmic tapping, as if something, or someone, was inside the walls. She chalked it up to old pipes or settling wood and tried to ignore it. Weeks passed, and the tapping became more persistent. One night, as she lay in bed, it grew louder, more deliberate. A knock, 2 beats, then silence, 3 knocks, silence again. Rachel sat up, straining to listen. It was as though the sound was coming from within the walls, but no pipes or beams could explain the eerie rhythm. Determined to figure out the cause, she rose from bed, grabbed a flashlight, and followed the sound. It seemed to move with her, growing louder as she ventured into the hallway. Her heart pounded as she approached a section of the wall in the living room where the tapping seemed to be the most intense. Rachel hesitated. Something about this was wrong, but curiosity overpowered her fear, and she pressed her ear to the wall. Silence. Then, a voice. Faint, almost a whisper. "Let me out!" Rachel stumbled back, her breath caught in her throat. She convinced herself she was hearing things. The stress, the isolation, it was getting to her. But the next night it happened again. Louder this time. Knocking, whispering. "Let me out!" Panic gripped her, but she couldn't ignore it any longer. She had to know. The next morning she called a contractor to check for faulty pipes or infestations. He arrived that afternoon, knocking on walls and checking for hollow spots. "I think there's something behind this wall," he said, stopping in the living room where the sound had been the loudest. Rachel's stomach turned. "Can you open it?" The contractor hesitated, then nodded. He pried off a section of the wood panelling, revealing a small, hidden compartment behind the wall. Dust and darkness greeted them, but as the light from the room crept in, Rachel gasped. There, in the corner of the compartment, was a small, rusted box. She knelt down and opened it. Inside were old, yellowed papers, photographs, and a journal. The photographs showed a family, parents with a young daughter, but as she flipped through them, something caught her eye. In the background of each photo there was a figure, dark, shadowy, always in the distance but unmistakable. Watching. Rachel opened the journal. The entries were written in a rushed, erratic hand, detailing the family's growing fear of something in the house. A presence that watched them, followed them. The final entry chilled her to the bone. "We locked it away, but it still watches. We cannot escape. If you find this, leave. Do not open the wall." Her blood ran cold as she realized the last page of the journal was dated over a century ago, and the family had disappeared without a trace. That night, the knocking started again, louder than ever, desperate. "Let me out." Rachel packed her bags and left the house that night, never to return. But as she drove away, she glanced in the rearview mirror, and just for a moment she saw it, a dark figure standing in the upstairs window, watching. It always watched.